as students, I'm going to just share for a minute now from a student perspective and also from a teacher's perspective. A teacher has a responsibility. A teacher's responsibility is to teach, to communicate the information or to put the information forward. But students, we have a responsibility also. Every student who sits in a room has a responsibility to learn. A student should do everything that is right. Comes back to the right thing to say. A student should do everything that is right in order for the student to learn. So if you leave that room and you didn't learn, it is not the teacher's fault. Because if you need to stop the teacher 5 times and say, can you please repeat? Can you please explain? If you did not do that, it would not have been the teacher's fault. Because the teacher might believe that you have learned. But unless you communicate the information that you are not understanding, the teacher will never know that. And so I'm just doing that so that you can get your questions together so that we can field them to the panelists now as to the burdens you have on your mind.
In the meantime, what I would like to say is that, take NCU for example, we are, as mass communication students, it's 8 semesters and at least 2 summers. So, for example, you're taking the course Group Dynamics and Leadership in 1 semester, and the teacher for that course is Noreen Daly. Is it that once a semester has come to an end, you're no longer a student and Miss Daly is no longer a teacher, and as such you're in a position to address Miss Daly anyhow you so choose? Or when you say teacher-student relationship, is it the profession, in fact, you're addressing and your responsibility being a student? So I listened to Mr. Minto and he was saying, well, in the class, but it also extends further than that because you do not stop being a student because you step through the door, and you do not assume the role of teacher once you walk through the door.
Yes, thank you so much, Ms.
Yes, of course. A student confided in me some time ago that she shared with a lecturer. And it's her utterance started with all due respect, Miss, I think the class should be A, B, and C. And apparently, the facilitator was offended because the student received a failing grade at the end of the semester. Not only was the grade a failing one, the other students said that comment is going to be to your detriment, and it was so. How then do students say anything the right way without being penalized for giving an opinion? And I feel like I'm speaking for a student, but the situation affects me. I think it's not supposed to happen. Yes. Not to the point where the persons from that point onwards will be afraid to approach that person because there is the fear that utterance may cause them their grade.
Okay.
Yes?
I think I'm understanding your question. I'm going to address it to the panel. And how would you like me to give an overview of the question? All right. Let me. I think I'm not a part of the panelists, but as moderator, I have a little bit of rights. The point that was raised in the form of a question, it's not something that is just out in thin air. It happens. And I think students should recognize that they have rights. There's something that is not practiced a lot in this institution, but it is something that is there. Where students sit in a class, and at the end of each class, the student body, the class should do an assessment of each lecturer. I don't know if you know that should happen. Now, a student also has a right to I don't want to use the term confront, you know. I'm using the term confront now from a psychological perspective, not from a bullying perspective. A student has a right to peacefully confront a teacher with a challenge, respectfully, I should say, respectfully confront a teacher with a challenge, and if the student believes that he or she is wrongfully treated as it relates to the guidelines of the institution, you can take an action to the administrative council or to student services. I have seen it happen already. I don't know if you have anything.
If I could just add, I do agree with Mrs. Salazar. It's wrong. It's wrong on many levels. But what I find in instances like those, there is a major maturity problem. I believe, without getting any specifics, that the situation needs to be assessed on both levels in terms of both participants. What is the mind frame of the student? What is the mind frame of the instructor? What is the background that informed the suggestion that the student made? Are you, as a student, making suggestions? Are you doing your best? Are you qualifying yourself to comment on the course based on your own behavior in the course? The instructor, no. Are you also, by the quality of your instruction, empowering the students and helping them to learn as much as they can from your kind of instruction? Are you learning from them in the process? Is there dual respect, in other words? Have I given you the right to say something to me? Have you in turn given me the right to say something to you? So I think, quite possibly, how the student approached the instructor might have been an issue, because to preface a statement with simply with all due respect is really not enough. We like to think that that is enough to kind of sweet up people and soft-sawder them, but that doesn't work. Because if there was all due respect, we would be very guided as to the kinds of words we choose, and even when we say some things. There are many students who you will have a basic thing as office hours. They don't come to your office to talk with you about concerns. They want to meet you every and anywhere, any day of the week, to pour out whatever is going on with them. And you will say to them, all right, this is a matter that is best dealt with in the confines of the office space, so come and see me at this time. They're not having that. They want to have the situation dealt with out in John public in open air. So I think that particular situation, before we could say more about it, we'd have to understand the dynamics that fostered that kind of encounter. What was the mindset of the student? What was the mindset of the instructor?
I would like to add something. As one who would generally find herself on the wrong side of such incidents, I can tell you that sometimes it has absolutely nothing to do with the situation at hand. Sometimes the mere fact that you are the one who hold up your hand in the first place, they just see trouble coming or wish you hold up her hand for. And the teacher or the other party may go on the offensive. And it may, regardless of what you do not do, what you say, what you do not, you can't get it right. Because it is coming from you. However, we need to be cognizant of the fact that as individuals paying for a service, we have, as Sefton Brown said, we have a right to ensure that what we're paying for is in fact what we're getting. And if you believe that what you are getting is inadequate, insufficient, or lacking in any way, you have a right to ensure you do something to fix that post-haste. No, you may not need, your approach is going to be important. You also need to take into account where you are, the culture of the organization you're at. Yep. That is extremely important. There are certain channels that are put in place at NCU. If you, as an individual, you're incapable of dealing with the situation, because if you're one who is militant and you're not taking no talk, I'm going to suggest you probably want to talk to your chair, first. Exactly. First, not in her official capacity as chair or your academic advisor, but someone who can help to calm you down or to provide the right words or to be there to add some sort of support to ensure when the situation goes further, there's a third party or something there. You need to cover your ground. You cannot have the right and give it away.
That's right. That's right.
Could I add something? I think history has taught us a lot of things, including the fact that students don't normally win a petition against a teacher. So it's really hard when we are going to take it up to the next level. Sometimes we just feel like taking it on a personal level. Not that it's the right thing, but history has a lot to do with the way we react, the things that we say, and how we interact with people on a whole.
If I could chime in quickly, it's interesting that you would have said it that way, Jevan, because a petition is not a battle. You don't win a petition. So if you're thinking about it from that war zone kind of mentality, already you have given your right away.
Not a war zone mentality. For instance, I ask a lot of students, you got a grade at the end of the semester that you don't think you deserve. And when you reach the administrative level, it takes semesters upon semesters for your grade to be corrected. And you're indeed in the right position. So history has a lot to do with it and the way teachers respond to queries that we put forward to them.
Let me add a little bit to that, because you had a question I wanted to just I go.
Oh, I can go ahead?
Yeah, go
Okay. Hello, everybody. So I had a question before, and then based on what they said, I have a comment and then a question. I started working at NCU in the summer of 2000 and something? 11? Yes, and at that time, the students, from that time, I heard that the assessment that you spoke about, the evaluation for the teachers, that teachers who consistently get bad evaluations are still teaching their courses, and the students felt that the evaluation wasn't effective. So the evaluation here at this school is online, it's not in the classroom. And a lot of students choose not to do it. In fact, I taught a class of about 20 students the first semester I was here, and only one student completed the evaluation. One. Right? So that's it on the evaluation, because, again, as Minta said about history, perhaps students feel that the evaluation is not going to produce anything, so they just don't do it. The question I wanted to ask before was something about Tamika said, about boundaries in the student-teacher relationship. What are these boundaries? What kinds of lines do you draw? They can't call you after a certain time. They can't ping you. I mean, should they have your pin in the first place? I mean, there's so much. What are some of these boundaries, especially now where we live? When I went to high school, I had no way to communicate with my teacher other than when I went to class. Right? But now they have multiple streams of contacting you. So where do you draw the line in such an environment?
Before you answer that question, let me just compare high school with university. A high school, we need to look at in a different perspective from a university. Children go to high school. Yes. Adults go to university. When you just saw a teacher class. But let me clarify something though. I am agreeing with you that there are many times when assessments are made of teachers and nothing is done about it. There are times when something is done. Yeah. I can attest to that. When I did my first degree, there was a teacher who actually, very discriminative, she taught me law. And I had a serious, probably the wrong way, confrontation with her about a particular law topic, because I thought that what she was saying was not exactly correct. And I did my research to find out that it was not exactly correct either. And I brought it back to the class. And quite a few of us agreed with the point that I was making. And she marked us down. That's the only course that I have ever gotten a C+ for in my entire undergrad program. And we did an assessment of her and sent it up, and she never ever came back to the classroom. So there are some times when it worked. We didn't even confront her again. We had no fight with her. We just went through the channel and we pushed it through the channel. Sometimes when we put things through the channel, Mr. Minto, you are the representative now for students' academic affairs. Sometimes when we put things in the pipeline, we don't follow them through. And if you don't follow them through, they are going to get lost in the way.
That's, your scenario is just one of many instances, because I have been here from 2010, and there's a particular lecturer that every single semester students have been complaining. I have seen a lot of students report to the particular lecturer, and nothing has been done. So 1/1,000, I mean, it doesn't weigh in the balance, and it's very hard for students to really follow the proper channel.